Good evening and welcome to the Danvers Planning Board meeting of August 30th, 2022. Good to see the board here. I think Peg may be joining us remotely. Just a reminder that this meeting is going to be live, but also remote, also on Zoom through the town channels, as you can see on the agenda, how to connect. The first item we have this evening is 20 Pope's Lane. Request by Mantra Realty LLC for endorsement of an approval not required plan for 20 Pope's Lane. Assessors map 40 lot 18. The property is located in the Highway Corridor Zone zoning district. If you could just identify yourself and use the mic. Thank you. And the plan, we can put, you got your own use. Okay.
Name's Tony Capichetti. I'm an engineer with Hayes Engineering, 603 Salem Street, Wakefield, Massachusetts. What we have before you is a approval not required plan. What we're doing is taking a roughly 1,500 square foot parcel that includes the sewer lift station from the Manta Corporation property, creating a separate parcel, and then ultimately that'll be deeded over to the abutter, Mr. Knowles from Bitcoin Corporation. And he'll retain control of the pump station. All the easements will remain in place. There's reciprocating easements over that pump station. It would just become part of the Bitcoin parcel.
Okay. Any questions from the board? Lou?
Yeah, just so I can understand, so what is the amount that is going from one to another? Is it 1,985 square feet? Is that?
I'm sorry, yes, it's 1,985.
Okay.
And that would, both lots will both have sufficient frontage and area once that transfer.
Understood. Okay. Okay, I have no further questions myself.
All right. Tori?
No questions.
Jean? No questions. Is Peg on? Do we know?
No, she's not on.
She's not, okay. I don't have any questions. Hearing none, if I could have a motion from Lou?
Yeah. Motion, with respect to 20 Pope's Lane, a motion to approve the request by Mantra Realty LLC for endorsement of an approval not required A&R plan for 20 Pope's Lane, Assessors map 40 lot 18. The property is located in the Highway Corridor HCZ zoning district.
The motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion second by Tori. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Thank you very
Thank
much for your
you.
time.
All right. Next item on the agenda this evening. (24-42) Cherry Hill Drive, request for a site plan review pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaw, submitted by Abiomed Inc. for property in the Industrial 2 zoning district. The applicant proposes to increase the number of parking spaces at the property and associated site modifications. Assessors map 29, lot 3.
Good morning.
We're all virtual, and this is Shara Lewis from JLL. I'm the project manager. Tonight presenting will be Danelle Baptiste, and we also have Kirsten Skibby from Abiomed on the line, on virtually, and I think our attorney Jesse Schomer is going to be logging in momentarily. So I'll turn it over to Danelle to get started. He's got a PowerPoint to share with all of you.
Thank you.
Good evening, rather, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Danelle Baptiste. Can I get permission to share my screen, please?
Yes, you have permission. Yes, sir.
We could speak up a little bit. I have a little difficulty.
We're here for site plan approval for 2442 Cherry Hill Drive in Danvers, Mass. I am here. My name is Danelle Baptiste. I'm the project manager representing High Point on behalf of Abiomed. We have Shara Lewis from JLL, who is the OPM of the project. We have, I'm not sure if Mike Hood is available. He is representing Abiomed as well. And we have Kirsten Kisby, and I apologize if I butcher your name. and we have representing Abiomed as well, and we have Jesse, who's actually our attorney, who's going to assist us as well. May I move forward with the slide?
Yeah, just to let you know, we only have 4 members this evening to vote on this. So you need 3 out of 4.
Okay, perfect.
We're missing a member this evening.
So as we move forward, the site plan is triggered with the proposed development, proposing more than 10 spaces. So we are moving in a fashion that is suitable for the local town bylaw. We are requesting a waiver on behalf of Abiomed, 2 waivers to be more specific. We are requesting a waiver for street and profile, section 4-3-5. And we are requesting another waiver for traffic study, 4-4-2. These waivers are requested because based on the scope inside of the project and encompasses on these requested items to be included, the applicant feels that these areas can be waived without altering the scope and intent of the project. We have secured some approvals. We secured a ZBA approval variance, rather, for the existing bridges that are proposed on the project, both existing and proposed. We secured that ZBA variance on the 27th of July. We also got a favorable approval from the Conservation Commission on 8/25 last week. I believe we're in the appeals period, so the order of condition is forthcoming. Just to give the board some orientation of where this project lies, I'm going to turn on my pointer here. So this is the project site in Hatch. To the north, we have Beverly Airport. To the left, we have conservation area by the town. To the south, we have 22 Cherry Hill Drive, which is also owned by the applicant, Abiomed. And to the right, we have Cherry Hill Drive. Just to be noted, there's 2 access to the site, one in this location and one to the south, that provides access for vehicles to circumnavigate the site. We provide some pictures just so the board could get orientated with the existing area and project limits. We're looking at the parking area from left to right. Said parking area, more specific, we are looking at the area that we're changing from this mulch patch to expand the parking within these areas. I want to bring attention to the existing bridge that is also located on site. This bridge was constructed under a separate permit. We have secured that variance that allows us to build the second bridge, which is in this location. So both permits and variances are secured to allow use under the town bylaw. Here is an overall schematic view of the existing conditions of the entire site. Just to orient the board more specifically, I'm going to trace out the area that the limit of work of where the project is. So if you could follow my cursor. Just to be clear, the entire site will not be disturbed as part of the scope of this project. And the only area that's going to be disturbed is within the project limits for the parking lot expansion project. So just a closer view of the same area that I traced out. This is the project limits. This is the area where I specified that there was a mulch mound that, as you're going to see in the next slides, is going to be transformed into expanded parking lot with site amenities. Here's the erosion control plan. This plan was vetted by Conservation Commission, which special attention was paid to erosion control. That's identified in brown. We have 2 access locations for construction vehicles to enter the project limits, and everything has been approved by the Conservation Commission and is in compliance with the local regulations relative to protecting the resource areas. We have the site plan, which is, I guess, the focus of today's meeting. We are proposing to add 62 spaces that is going to be within the vicinity of that mulch mound that we saw in previous slides. This is to expand the parking to facilitate potential future growth from the applicant. As part of this proposed site development, we have an existing path, stone dust path, that we are extending from left to right for my cursor, and it's extending along the back of the proposed parking facility and going around in this fashion. We have extended access to the existing footbridge that was shown in the previous slide, and we are constructing a new bridge. So there's two bridges. The one to the right is existing, and the one to the left is proposed. The purpose of this footbridge is to facilitate ease access from 2442 Cherry Hill Drive to 22 Cherry Hill Drive, rather than crossing the resource area, which, as we know, that's not allowed. Some other site amenities is lighting. We place lighting in a fashion to prohibit safety within the parking area. We have I believe we have our lighting consultant available that could embellish on.
They're not able to, they weren't
They're
able
not
to
here?
join.
Oh, okay, I apologize. So we have lighting aesthetics to the site layout. We also have this area that's protected via bollard. This is an existing transformer area as well too. We are proposing to revamp the parking area via a full depth construction of pavement to rehabilitate the existing surroundings of the pavement that is currently slightly dilapidated, but with this proposal, we are enhancing the pavement and allowing a more safe traffic maneuvering, if you will, for both passenger vehicles and trailers. This is just a blown up area of specifying the charts and zoning bulk dimensional requirements that Josh Morris and his team have looked at and have vetted. And I believe it's in good standards, but we'll open up to the board for any questions if the board choose to. Here is just a brief plan of the bridge, a profile, if you will, or a section, and pretty much gives you just a site plan overlook of what the bridge looks like in a fashion how it's going to be built. We have a slide that showed the existing bridge, which will be almost an identical image of what we're going to be proposing on our bridge. So the bridges are going to be very comparable to each other. Here's our drainage plan. As I mentioned, we did some improvements. So as part of the Mass DEP stormwater standards, we had to enhance our drainage infrastructure. Part of that infrastructure was to implement stormwater infiltration systems to the parking lot. I'm going to briefly go over just the from a high level standpoint, how the system works. If you can follow my cursor, we proposed two catch basins. The one to the right, so just from a travel standpoint of flow of water, flow will enter this catch basin and enter this system via a inlet control structure. It will enter the system, get treated, and it's controlled by outlet control structure that will alleviate the pressure and the head of that subsurface system to an outlet that goes towards a head wall proximate to the wetland area. So all in all, this meets TSS removal, 80% TSS removal. It's considered a redevelopment, and it satisfied the conditions and regulations by the local town. It was vetted by the engineering department, and it turns out that we satisfied all their questions and concerns. I just received an email with 3 de minimis comments from the engineering department that I know, confident that we could rectify those minor issues via conditional approval. Here we have a lighting plan. The lighting plan is situated, I believe we have 15 or 16 light poles. The light poles are situated to provide lighting in a forward, side fashion. It's shielded to prevent lighting from being, let's say, the back, for lack of better words. So most of the lighting will be facing the parking area, which is the primary purpose of these lighting structures, to provide a safe maneuvering and for the pedestrians to circumnavigate the lot without having any hazards or what have you. The specifics on the lighting is here, and we'll open it up to the board once the presentation is over if there's any questions. This is a photometrics plan. The main purpose of this plan is to ensure that, you know, light coverage is in a fashion to facilitate safe illumination. The foot candles on the property line are within standards. It's less than 1 foot candle, which is pretty much a typical standard for photometrics plan. And I believe that this plan satisfies the requirements from a illumination standpoint as depicted in this slide. I'm going to turn it over to Shara Lewis, who is the OPM of the project, and she's going to go into further detail relative to the landscape plans. Thank you.
Hello. I won't go into too much detail, just to say that the landscape plan was changed through the Conservation Commission hearing process. So we've got planting beds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planting beds that are pollinator based, and the rest of the plantings are, there's new trees going in along the south end. You can see along the path there near where Danelle's cursor is, and around that is conservation mix. So the plants in the planting bed were picked to be pollinator friendly, which was something that the Conservation Commission wanted. And anywhere where we're disturbing within the buffer zones, which is, you know, again, a Conservation Commission requirement, we'll have that conservation seed mix. We didn't put the details of the plants here, but I'm happy to answer questions if people have questions about the plants. I'll turn it back to Danelle.
Thanks, Shar. I appreciate that. We do have a plant list, but I'm probably going to go to questions, and then we could finish that up. Or if any questions, board could ask those. So if I have permission from the board, I'd like to open this up for any questions that anyone may have.
Okay, thank you. Jean, any questions at this time?
Yeah, just curious, what is the reasoning for the increase in parking?
I'd like to turn that over to Kirsten Skibby to answer that, please.
Yes, good evening. I'm Kirsten Skibby. I'm a project manager with Abiomed. We're looking to expand our parking. Some time ago, we started leasing space in 24 Cherry Hill Drive as we were running out of space in our headquarters located at 22. And we find that over the next few years, our head count is going to increase. Our company is growing, and we took the opportunity to purchase 24 Cherry Hill Drive just to allow us that growth over the coming years.
Okay, thank you.
Questions, Tori?
No questions.
Lou?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Just with respect to the, and perhaps staff could help me as well, just in terms of, I know the applicant indicated that the waivers that they were seeking, I think it's section 4.3.5, street layout and profile plan, and 4.4.2, traffic, a traffic study. Is that, you know, and in terms of what I've seen in terms of the proposed decision as well as the staff summary, I didn't see those listed, and there were other there were other waivers as well. So I'm just a little confused in terms of what waivers are actually before us.
Yeah, so the waivers that are in the decision they're mostly, almost all submission related.
Okay.
I don't think your mic is on, Josh.
Is it on? So, okay. In the decision in the staff summary, those are the waivers from the submission materials from section 4 of the zoning regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So, I went through the plan that was submitted, and the ones that are in the decision in the staff summary should be the ones that are being requested, if that makes sense.
Okay, so then the ones that are, that the applicant addressed and that were in the application, those are not, they're not required, or they were not?
I didn't. Some of them that were maybe mentioned earlier were probably not applicable.
Okay.
It's just for like the street layout. They weren't proposing a new street, so I wouldn't list that in the decision because there was not a new street or a street layout being proposed. So the ones that were probably mentioned earlier in this discussion probably aren't applicable to be requested to be waived. So that's why they're not listed from my planning staff's perspective. So if that provides any clarity.
Okay, yeah, there's just a little disconnect, so I just want to make sure that indeed everything, you know, no one has to come back down the road at all. That's, okay. Okay. Just one other question for the applicant as well. I know the applicant indicated that they went through the variance process and Conservation Commission. Any concerns or conditions that were expressed at those? I've not seen those decisions, so any concerns that we should be aware of?
To my knowledge, there is no concerns. We're still awaiting the order conditions from Conservation Commission.
Mm-hmm.
We have a variance actual variance for the proposed bridge and the existing bridge that should be available for the members to view. But as far as the conditions for the order conditions from Conservation, it's forthcoming.
I think the only condition that we know of in the conservation, the pending OOC, is a bond for, which there is now sort of, I think, a standard Conservation Commission feature. So there'll be a bond for the plantings,
Okay.
which I don't have the details of yet.
And just a question with respect to, speaking of plantings, and in terms of, do we know in terms of the types of plants, are they, this just came to mind,
They're
are they?
native.
What's that?
Native plants that we're not planning to irrigate. So these are all
Drought resistant.
plants that can tolerate this
That's-
very sunny area that also will have no irrigation, but are also friendly, for pollinators. So
Got it.
we worked with Georgia Pendergast on this list and our landscape designer to pick plants that we felt would thrive in that sunny, dry environment without
Okay.
irrigation added.
Got it. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Just had a couple questions. So just prior to this, was that area designated as reserved parking, or was it part of the landscaping?
I will, if the board allows, I'm going to go back to, here's the existing area. This area was designated to parking, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kirsten, if I'm misspeaking. This mound is the area that we are doing proposed development, but to my knowledge, this area was parked along with facilitating loading and unloading of trucks.
Do you know?
If I could just add to that, is that the oval area in the middle, when last year was a big green mound, like a big green hill. And when we were doing another project, we thought we did a fitness trail around the campus, and we were going to go up and over the hill, and then we decided to take down the hill. We worked with the Conservation Commission on that, and that's when we flattened it, sort of became apparent that would actually make much more sense to have more parking there rather than this hill that was an obstruction.
What's the maximum number of parking spaces that you can have on the site?
The maximum amount numbers?
Yes.
Well, I don't have that value, but I know that there's a minimum requirement of 170, and there's an existing of 283, and we are providing 345, which is a surplus of 62 parking spaces. I'm not familiar if they have a maximum, but I would kindly do that research and provide it to the board as soon as possible.
Do you know that, Josh?
From a zoning perspective, there is not a parking maximum in the parking table, from a zoning perspective.
Okay. Do we know how much of the landscape percentage is and how that's been affected by the additional parking? Reduced?
So from a green space area, we are increasing that area by about 13% from green to pavement. But I would like to bring to the attention that most of the impervious area is pushed out from where it was before. So if you could see my cursor, I'm going to draw the existing pavement that was there before. We're actually replacing this area with green area. So we're actually moving away from the resource area. So most of that new pavement area is going to be seen here, where the old mound that Shara described.
As far as the percentage, do you know what the percentage is now? The landscape area?
The percentage increase in pervious area is 13%.
So what will we,
But that's 13% within the limit of work that you're seeing
Yes, within the-
overall for the site. It's quite a
Correct.
bit smaller. And I think we may have I don't know whether we should have shown you the total site, but in this chart in the lower right, it's actually for just the limit of work,
Right.
which,
Correct.
but it turns out it's actually, I think Danelle did the calculation. Danelle, maybe you can give does the board want to know the actual calculation for the full site?
yes.
Yeah, I could provide that to the board. I don't have that number with me, but I could provide that to the board if needed.
Great. I'm going to open up to the public at this time, and then we'll get back to the answer to that question. Does anyone in the audience have a question on this application? All right. Any further questions from the board? Yeah, I just think when you're proposing additional parking, we just need to know, we like to have 30% for landscaping of the space where you're taking that mound down and removing that green space. I think we just need to know, because if it was below the 30%, I believe you'd have to get a waiver for that. No? Not on that?
Not in this zoning district.
Not on this one? Okay. Well, inquiring minds want to know.
It's a goal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions by the board?
Is he going to get us the info?
No, just looking for that percentage if you can get it.
Okay.
Could you clarify, you're asking for the percentage of plantings on the overall site and the percent change of is
Right.
that?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
I know you added some, I think, in those beds in the parking area.
Yeah, I think though, he's working on the overall site. Is there anything else that while Danelle's working on that, I'm sorry, we didn't have that he didn't have that calculated beforehand, but is there anything else that we can answer while he's figuring that out for you?
I don't believe so. Staff have anything, or the board further questions?
I'm trying
At
to
this
make the
time.
calculation myself here because I think it's in the application.
Well, what I'm going to have, it's not going to affect the vote, but it'd be good to know what that is, because It's not a requirement in the zoning district, but we usually like to hit that mark if we can with site plans. So I would ask that at this time, we get a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor to close the public hearing? Opposed? None? And Lou, you have a motion?
I do.
Thank you.
Site plan review, 24 to 42 Cherry Hill Drive. Date of application, July 22nd, 2022. Date of hearing, August 30th, 2022. Date of decision, August 30th, 2022. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by Abiomed, Inc. for property at 24 to 42 Cherry Hill Drive, Assessors Map 29, Lot 3, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plan. Quote, proposed parking lot, 24 to 42 Cherry Hill Drive, Danvers, Massachusetts, 01923. End quote, prepared by High Point Engineering, Inc., dated July 13th, 2022, revised to August 18th, 2022, consisting of 20 sheets. The following submission requirements have been waived. 1. Section 4.3.1, title sheet. Section 4.3.1.d, existing contours at 10-foot intervals are not shown on the title sheet. Existing contours are shown at 1-foot intervals on the overall topographic plan. Section 4.3.1.f, zoning district boundaries are not shown on the plan. 2. Section 4.3.2, site plan analysis plan. No site analysis plan. No site analysis plan submitted. Existing contours are shown at 1-foot intervals on the overall topographic plan. Steep slopes are shown on grading plan, sheet C300. Existing trees are shown on the erosion and sedimentation control plan, C100. Wetland boundaries and buffers are shown on the erosion and sedimentation control plan, C100, and layout and materials plan, C200. 3. Section 4.3.3, dimensional regulations plan. No dimensional regulations plan submitted. The maximum height of buildings and zoning dimensional table are shown on the layout and materials plan, sheet C200. 4. Section 4.3.4, site construction plan. No site construction plan submitted. The location of the existing building and parking areas, wetland buffers, dimensions of parking areas, proposed drainage system in general, proposed landscaping in general, proposed limit of work, LOW, are shown on the layout and materials plan, sheet C200. 5. Section 4.3.6, utilities plan. No utilities plan submitted. The existing and proposed water line is shown on the drainage plan, C301. The existing and proposed stormwater system is shown on the drainage plan, C301. Section 6, Section 4.3.7, landscape plan. The landscape plan is not prepared by a registered landscape architect, Section 4.3.7B and C. Existing trees and landscaping are shown on erosion and sedimentation control plan, C100. Section 4.3.7J. A table showing the amount of existing and proposed impervious surface is shown on the layout and materials plan, sheet C200. 7. Section 4.3.8, off-street parking and loading plan. No off-street parking and loading plan submitted. Dimensions of parking areas / aisles, location and number of parking spaces, location of buildings, landscaping, and parking table with number of parking spaces are shown on layout and materials plan, C200. 8. Section 4.4.1, table of development data. A table of development data showing area in vegetated wetland is not shown. Percentage of building coverage, amount of impervious surface, and number of off-street parking spaces is shown on the layout and materials plan, sheet C200. The project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Compliance review of this site plan shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date. Signed, James Sears, Chair.
The motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tori. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Any luck with that percentage?
I did a quick calculation. We're increasing impervious area from the overall site by 4%. So that's a loss of 4% in the overall landscaping throughout the site.
Do we know how much landscaping there is, percentage-wise?
It's pretty much just a difference from the impervious area, because it's usually impervious and landscape. But I could provide that in more detail. I'm under the gun, so I don't want to give you an
No, that's
incorrect
fine.
answer. I could provide that, yeah.
All right, well, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. You folks are all set. We just voted to approve it.
Thank you.
Okay? All right.
We just was waiting to hear. Okay, thank you.
Next item, 301 Newbury Street. Request a site plan review pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaw, submitted by Atlas Danvers Realty LLC for property in the Highway Corridor Zone, HCZ zoning district. The applicant proposes a standalone restaurant, fast food, coffee shop with a drive-through and parking lot modification, Assessors Map 19, Lot 8.
Thank you very much. My name is Nancy McCann. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Atlas Danvers Realty LLC. With me tonight, I have Jess Carroll from Atlas Danvers Realty LLC. Also with me tonight, the project engineer, Mark Beaudry. We also have John Johnson and Bruce Comack, as well as I believe we have Dennis Greenwood also perhaps on virtually. And we are requesting site plan approval for the construction of a new freestanding small coffee shop restaurant with drive-through at 301 Newbury Street. The property is located in the Highway Corridor Zone. This is a new restaurant to be located on what is the existing large impervious parking field at the Danvers Plaza. 301 Newbury Street is the Danvers Plaza, as you know. And we are proposing a small coffee shop. It's about 2,280 square feet, freestanding, and it would be located in an area that is impervious surface now. So in addition to an improvement, we think, of the parking area by providing this, this new restaurant, we are also going to be decreasing the impervious surface of the site by adding some significant new landscaping. This property is about 15.3 acres. It was developed in the early 1970s as the Danvers Plaza, and it consists currently of the shopping strip that has two anchor tenants, Stop and Shop and Home Goods, as well as a number of retail and commercial and service tenants in that space. And there is also the freestanding Outback Steakhouse building on that site. 1970s had different parking requirements under the zoning bylaw than what we have now. And the parking requirements for this use were significantly higher than what they are now. And as a result, we've ended up with a parking lot that has almost 900 parking spaces, and oftentimes, almost always, a good portion of the parking lot is vacant and not used at all. The bylaw has since been revised, understanding that the parking requirements early on were more than what is really necessary to service these uses. So the bylaw has been revised, and under the current parking requirements, under the current zoning bylaw, we have about 288 excess parking spaces on this site over what the bylaw currently requires. So we're proposing to utilize some of that space and put it to good use with the new proposed coffee shop. This will provide a good use of what is an asphalt parking field right now, as well, as I said before, adding some attractive area to the site, as well as adding some landscaping to an area that's not landscaped now. This site, the proposal consists of the small coffee shop with drive-through. This is listed as a fast food restaurant with drive-through under the zoning bylaw table. That use is not permitted in the highway corridor zone. So we did seek and receive in May of this year a use variance from the Board of Appeals to allow this use as presented and as shown on the site plan that we've submitted to you. We also received a variance for the signage that you saw as part of the site plan package. So the Board of Appeals unanimously approved those two variances, and that led us on to this application before you. The building that's proposed is fully conforming to the dimensional and density requirements of the highway corridor zone. We did not need any density or setback type of relief. We have a fully conforming building, and as I mentioned, the impervious surface of the site is being reduced by the additional landscaping. We certainly think that this is well suited to this area and will provide a service to travelers in this area where this site, as you know, is located on Route 1. It has access immediately onto Route 95. It also has signalized access at the Route 62 intersection. So this will provide a service to travelers, to shoppers of the Danvers Plaza, as well as to employees of the plaza who have limited opportunities for getting something to eat if given a short break period that they may have. The site is also uniquely suited. I've certainly appeared before you for fast food type of drive-ins, and I've never had a site that's this large to work with. So we have a lot of breathing room here on this site to provide good queuing lane that works, that meets and exceeds the requirements under the zoning bylaw for the queue length. And the circulation around this site is excellent, and around this particular location within the site is excellent, so that the traffic maneuvering is very good and will not interfere with shoppers, and will certainly provide a good service here. Hours of operation for the coffee shop, 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., 7 days a week. However, it is not anticipated that those hours would always be utilized. The peak hours for the use are in the morning, 8 to 11, which is off-peak for the shopping center, and 2 to 4 in the afternoon, and customer volume drops off significantly after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The restaurant has 55 seats, and we anticipate 6 new employees. That's an overview of the site plan that we presented in the application that we've submitted to you. I'd like to turn it over now to Mark Beaudry, our civil engineer, who can walk you through the site plan and the other items that have been submitted, as well as the department comments that we've received.
Thank you, Nancy. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, hello. My name is Mark Beaudry. I'm a professional engineer here in Massachusetts with Civil Works New England. And as Nancy gave a real nice overview, just to put some numbers on what we're talking about here, the impervious area is going down by 6,946 square feet. So that's, as you can see, the triangular-shaped landscape islands, the large island to the right of the proposed coffee shop, all those new green areas are, in effect, reducing the impervious by basically 3 times the size of the proposed coffee shop. And so that inherently is taking this large expanse of impervious that Nancy mentioned and just improving stormwater management like from the get-go. So we have additional recharge, peak flow will go down on the site, runoff volume will go down on the site. It's really meeting all the requirements of the stormwater management standards of the town as well as the state. So the one thing that did come up during the reviews was the drive-through queuing, and I could speak to that quickly. So, thank you, Josh. Well, he's queuing that up, no pun intended. I think the Danvers bylaws that require 13 parking for 8 by 20 size vehicles. We actually are providing 15, so we exceed the requirements of the bylaw. And from the order board back, we have 9 cars, which meets the requirement of the bylaw. And from the order board to the drive-through window to the right, I think we have 6 vehicle spaces. So that exceeds the bylaw requirements by 2. So I think that was an important consideration. So yeah, Josh, thank you. If we could go back to the site plan. Another specific, Nancy talked about parking. We're actually reducing the number of parking spaces by 97, okay? And that still provides, we still have 166 parking spaces in excess of zoning requirements. So it's really still overparked under existing standards. So and one thing that was nice about the location of the coffee shop is that it's in a part of the site that it's down in the southern corner, if you're familiar with it, next to the Texas Roadhouse. But that site right now, that area of the parking lot is very lightly parked. If you look at our overall site plan, I think, which includes an aerial photo, I think there's maybe 2 cars in that area. So we're basically taking up, you can see on the 2 sides, some parking along this line over here is actually the existing retaining wall, if you're familiar with the site, and the parking above it on the right and on the far left is the existing area. So we're basically essentially holding the edge of pavement and maybe pulling it back a little bit from the retaining wall and using that area that's underparked right now to create the drive-through lane, some additional parking, well, the parking for the dedicated to the coffee shop, the outdoor seating area, the enclosed dumpster, area, which is that pad to the south of the coffee shop, et cetera. So we're utilizing and greening up significantly that corner of the site. So I think it'll be, really, nicely improving that area. Also, as part of it, we've been going through a lot of back and forth with, Stephen King and Henry Clark in engineering, working out some of the detailing on the stormwater here. There's only one, Stephen's remaining comments really relate to, he's basically acknowledged that the piping system here complies with the town requirements for the 10-year design storm rational method. We comply with the 2, the 10, the 100-year storms for site hydrology. What he really wanted to see now is just he and I exchanged some emails this afternoon, but what he would like to see now is basically what would happen to the stormwater system in a 100-year storm. Because the pipes are designed as required for a 10-year event. And, but when you increase that amount of rainfall to over 8 inches of rain in 24 hours, Stephen was just interested in what's going to happen. Now, there was some concern in in some back and forth about if there was what would happen if the pipe capacity was exceeded, which it would be. I mean, you don't design drain pipes for a 100-year storm, at least not yet. And so that may change down the road with climate change and everything else. But with there was some concern about what would happen if those pipes exceeded capacity. And currently, the entire site drains down to this south corner right here. And then if you can see that, what that is a stone-lined swale that comes off the corner of the parking area that drops down into the state highway layout. And there's the drain pipe system also runs underneath that stone swale and outfalls at a culvert down at the bottom, which would find its way into the state highway drainage system. So when the property management has really never seen this site flood, but if it was to if the catch basin inlet capacity was exceeded, that the water could pond up, it could go over that spillway, go down into this area where the pipes would outfall anyway. So there's really there's no increase in flow rates or volumes to the design points. I think we've satisfied Stephen as far as all that's concerned. So he's just curious of what is up with the, the pipe capacities for the 100 and what we maybe might be able to do to make some improvements there. But what we've all agreed to is that we have to now go before engineering for a stormwater permit. So we absolutely we'll work out these details. I'm very confident that we'll continue the dialogue with Stephen and Henry, and we'll give them the information they need. And we'll satisfy them for the stormwater permit. So that would definitely be an appropriate condition of approval. Utilities also, we've worked out some details with them. There was a couple things that we noted on the plan in the last round of comments about where the gas service will be connected. We made some revisions as far as the water system goes, but basically to save cost. From a gas standpoint, it will be connected somewhere on the property, so we won't have to go into the state highway layout or Conniff Hill Drive, which the site accesses on the two sides, to make that utility connection. So that is now noted on the plan to engineering satisfaction. Let's see, from a traffic standpoint, we did submit a traffic assessment for the project, and I don't believe there was any comments on that, but I could go through it quickly. Nancy touched on a lot of the factors on it, but basically we did an IT trip generation calculation as required for the store square footage. It's actually a coffee donut shop with drive-through windows, the ITE category. So we looked at that, and for the square footage, we also looked at the number of seats, which is another category in ITE. And the AM peak hour turned out to be basically the same number for both analyses, which is interesting. But we're looking at 235 peak trips for that peak hour in the morning, which obviously would be the peak hour, and 122 in and 113 out. So you're not really looking at 235 new cars, but our feeling is that with this type of use, those vehicles are either already on the highways around, Route 1, 62 Maple Street, or they're in the plaza already. They might even be going to the existing coffee shop inside Stop and Shop. So this provides them with an alternative. We don't really see this use as providing new vehicle trips to the highways. So they're already going to be on the roadway networks. So, and as Nancy mentioned, we're quite some distance. It's like 400 feet from the access onto Conniff Hill Drive to the south, which generates from the Route 62 Maple Street signal, and over 700 or so feet to the egress over by the at Home Goods and CVS across the street. So the vehicles are getting off the highways and coming through the plaza, with no possibility of queuing back onto the roadways, which is unusual, actually, and for this kind of use, but not in this case, which is great. And we're providing good circulation, pass by lanes by the drive-through, et cetera. We really think this is not going to have any impact on the highway, on Conniff Hill Drive or the state highways, and is not going to have any real issues with levels of service or any of the things that you typically want to see with a new use that could generate a lot of traffic. So from a loading standpoint, that is the coffee shop anticipates that you're not going to see full 18-wheelers, probably tractor-trailer trucks. Could be, you know, any day of the week. But the operator of the coffee shop could control when those trucks arrive. Again, they're going to be coming into access points that already have deliveries to the various stores in the plaza. So we really don't see there being much of a change as far as loading goes. So anyway, Nancy already talked about the peak hours. So we don't see there really being a conflict. You know, with the peak hour of the coffee shop is not going to be consistent with the peak hour of the plaza. So I think the opportunities for vehicle, pedestrian conflicts, things like that are going to be pretty limited, as we said in our report. Waivers. We did ask for a few waivers, but they're really related primarily to plan content. You know, for example, you know, 4.3.1 in the title sheet and the 4.32, the site analysis plan, dimensional regulations plan on the 4.3.3, those, we believe that the information that is appropriate for the use, that putting this relatively small use onto a plaza that's been in operation since the 70s is, you know, if you look at the requirement to have 500 feet all the way around a 15-acre parcel, it's, you know, what really is that going to tell us? We pretty much know what's existing around within 500 feet of the proposed use. So, again, from a dimensional standpoint, Nancy touched on that. We comply with all zoning requirements dimensionally. Impervious cover is, I know you were looking for a number on the last project, but this is actually going down by almost 7,000 square feet, so it's improving the existing condition that dated back to the, you know, the 70s. So we believe that everything that is really needed to make a comprehensive review of this project has been provided. So we respectfully ask for you know, those what we see as really minor waivers. So, and I don't believe that there have been any you know, comments coming back as far as looking for more information relative to those things. So we'd be happy to, we were, you know, happy to provide whatever was actually necessary. So anyway, there was a waiver list of you know, the application Form W that was submitted, and I think pretty much touched on a lot of the requirements. You know, again, a site analysis plan, you know, the off-street loading plan, you know, these types of things we, you know, we believe the information is provided on the drawings. We just didn't really name the drawings those particular names, and but we believe all the information is actually provided, including on our overall site plan, we had the parking, you know, tabulation existing versus proposed. So that was with every single specific use. So that was all the important stuff we believe relative to this use in the overall plaza was provided. So again, we respectfully ask for their, you know, for that relief. So I think that's all I have from a site civil standpoint. So certainly be happy to answer any questions that you might have as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Josh, could you put up the building elevation drawings, please? I get to talk about the building, which we think is quite attractive. You have a colored version in your package. These are the building elevation drawings of the different sides of the building. The pointer, there used to be a pointer under here. Oh, there is. All right, so I need to take this with me too. Okay. So this is the elevation of the building that is facing the retail, facing Stop and Shop, facing Staples. And we have a building entrance here. We have an outdoor seating area here. And there's also an entrance around the corner here as well. On the elevation drawings that have been provided with the site plan set, we have different sort of metal fabrications for the exterior, as well as some brick around the entryway, which will be nice, and some glass areas here. We are also proposing some awnings, cloth awnings, around the entrance points here and here, as well as on the other side.
What color, Nance?
Green awnings. And you do have specified on the plans the actual paint colors, and they're very very close to this. This is the pickup elevation, which is facing 95. And could I have the next one? This is the elevation that's facing 95, and you can see the seated area. The last elevation was the long side of the building that's facing Route 62. And then this is the small end of the building that's facing Route 1, but it's as Mark said, it's almost 1,000 feet away from Route 1 at this point. So on all of the entrance areas, this is the other pedestrian door here, as well as on the back side. This is the seating area. We have awnings here as well. And it's just it's a small building, but we think it's a nice, attractive, neat design. And the outdoor seating area is nice as well. I think that's what I had for the elevations. We do have wall sconces on the building, so wall-mounted lighting. You do have in your package a photometric plan, and we'd be happy to answer any questions if you have any questions about the lighting fixtures. So at this point, I will turn it over to, I believe, Bruce Comack, who is going to present the landscaping. Feel free to use the pointer.
Can you put up the landscape plan? Great. My name is Bruce Comack. I've been doing landscaping in the North Shore, Peabody, Danvers, Middleton area for 44 years. We were asked to design for the new Starbucks coffee shop. And they asked us, Starbucks has certain requirements, so we tried to design within their requirements. But because of the water problems in Danvers, we also had to make it so that the site required very little water. So basically, we chose, as far as shade trees, we chose ginkgos. Ginkgos are pretty much the hardiest tree you can buy and you can plant in the Northeast, that's for sure, but pretty much the northern tier of the country. There is a hedge. Along here. The only evergreen on the whole property is there's a hedge here, and those are evergreen arborvitaes. That was to provide a little bit of a screen so that as the lights are going down, they're not shining into the other stuff. The rest of the site, as far as all these areas, anything here, these are all trees, but the rest of the site is all ornamental grasses, which require very little water. And also perennial daylilies, again, which require very little water, comparatively to other plants. The only other plants that, on the site between, ornamental grasses, these are all daylilies and ornamental grasses. These are all, ornamental grasses. The trees are here, these are all ornamental grasses, again, all in here. Right here where right before the drive-up window, the ordering window, there is some bayberry. Bayberry is semi-evergreen. If you get a bad winter, they will lose their leaves, but sometimes they will hold on to them for the whole year. We did propose, based on their request, a temporary drip irrigation system. But other than that, the rest of the site, there's going to be no bark mulch on the site. For the new areas, it's all going to be ornamental stone. It's a real low maintenance. It's a real low maintenance planting.
Great.
Does anybody have any questions?
Keeps the fires from starting with no bark mulch, right, Bruce?
It's been a real problem this year.
Yeah. Okay. I think we'll ask questions once we're done with the presentation. Thank you.
And I think we are just about done with the presentation. We think this will be a nice addition to the plaza, both aesthetically as well as a service in the area and for our existing shoppers. So we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great. I might start with a couple questions. Mr. Beaudry, your firm is in New Hampshire, and you have a Mr. Height signing the plan. He's a Massachusetts engineer?
Yes, he's the owner of Civil Works.
Okay.
But I'm a licensed professional engineer as well.
In Massachusetts?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep, absolutely.
Only because we had a problem with that one time before where people were not.
If you look at any emails that have come out of our office, they talk about the Massachusetts satellite office. That's me.
Okay, great. Just a couple further questions. I think my concern is just, you showed it on the snapshot plan, and I don't know when you took the picture of the cars, might have been not at peak hours as far as the Texas Roadhouse, but knowing the Texas Roadhouse, it has a tremendous following. For every time that I've gone there, it's not easy to get in and out of there. And I think it's good if you're going to or have the people come up through the drive-through and go straight up and not go into that. And I know the restaurant probably doesn't open until, I don't know if they do lunch or not. Does anyone only have dinner? But it has a tremendous parking overload, at night, I think on the weekends and holidays and Sundays and so on. So I'm just a little concerned about the proximity to their parking fields, which they primarily use the first 2 and 3 on the right.
Yeah, and I think we're kind of down from that. I'll say westerly from that, so we're really quite separated. And Texas Roadhouse is going to be.
Yeah.
There we go. There. So this is primarily their parking field here, and we're not touching that. We're not impacting that. When I say touching, we're not impacting that. And also the hours of operation are really, our business drops off at 4 o'clock, and they're just getting started.
Yeah.
So that should not be an issue.
Okay. Questions from the board? Jean?
I do not have any questions.
Lou?
Yeah, just a few questions. So, and I'll date myself. I remember when Almies was there. So, but in terms of with respect to Texas Roadhouse and sort of that location, and I've been to the site. It was at the site around dinner time and all, and and at least obviously it was not a really busy night for Texas Roadhouse, but you could see that the rest of the parking lot was pretty empty in that area. So I could definitely I can see your sort of your point. But I guess one concern I do have, and just because it is going to be open, I think proposed hours, I think we were said till 11 o'clock at night. I guess the question I had is whether or not, out of a concern also for even pedestrian traffic coming from let's say, you know, someone who's on break from Stop and Shop or someone on break from Staples coming down and getting a cup of coffee. Is that something, are there going to be any sort of, you know, crosswalks, or is there something, I'm concerned about pedestrian safety in terms of sort of walking across the parking field.
Yeah, if we could put up that overall plan again, maybe. Yeah, that could work. So we've got the outdoor seating area there. We have a accessible parking dedicated to the Starbucks right here. So the, could have you know, a crosswalk added to the plan like right here that would line up with that accessible parking aisle that would go to a, you know, a curb ramp area. So, I mean, that would be an effective, you know, place to put a crosswalk. We do have a crosswalk proposed right there for people coming out of the coffee shop to get over to onto a dedicated sidewalk to the dumpster area. That's something that that Starbucks wanted, frankly. So, yeah, we could definitely add another crosswalk across that drive aisle.
Okay.
And,
What
so,
you see up at the top for the main shopping center, those little, like little crosswalk sections like that,
That,
provide that.
okay, you can provide that? Okay,
we'd certainly add that as a condition of approval.
okay. No, that would be good, because again, as I mentioned, I was concerned about, you know, about potential employees coming, especially if it's going to be open late at night.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, this might have been an opportunity right here, but that would probably give back some of the impervious that we're greening up, but also that is a pretty steeply sloping area, if you remember. So, yeah, so which is, this is a fairly steep driveway. You were talking about, you know, any, you know, conflicts or whatever with Roadhouse. We think a lot of people are gonna use this aisle because that's a turning movement going down about an 8% driveway. So,
Okay.
you know, I think inherently people are just gonna find their way, and there are so many different ways to get to this and away from it if the Roadhouse parking lot's really busy, so I don't think that'll be an issue. But good question, though.
Okay, and so then you would be willing then to include as a condition additional crosswalk or crosswalks?
Just one right there.
Okay.
I think what we don't want to do is have it go to, you know, like dead end on parking.
Sure.
What I'd like to do is line it up with that accessible parking aisle that's
Okay.
already striped. And that is going to be striped for van use, so it's 8 feet wide, so it'd be a really nice place to put a crosswalk, actually.
Okay.
Wish we thought of it.
Great, okay. And then another question I had in terms of the, so just to have it clarified, so I did see some of the correspondence with engineering, so it seems like the only, as you mentioned, I think the only outstanding issue really is water and stormwater?
The only remaining comment relative to water utilities is they wanted a label on the plan as to the material for the tapping sleeve and valve. It's, I mean, that is a construction detail.
Okay.
So absolutely no problem whatsoever.
Okay, and then also, and stormwater though, I know there was, you discussed sort of the 100-year storm issue, and so is that something you're reaching resolution on, or you anticipate that?
And it's only the 100-year storm related to the drainage piping.
Okay.
You know, the peak flows coming off the site and runoff volumes coming off the site to the design points, that was all addressed, and that was a little, I think there was a minor misunderstanding in that comment letter, because it asked for a comparison table. We had already provided that.
Okay.
And I think when I corresponded with Stephen this afternoon, I think he basically acknowledged it's really just looking at the 100-year storm relative to the pipes.
Okay. But again,
And, I mean, every pipe is, they're typically designed for a 10-year storm. And what you want to do is, in a larger storm, where's the runoff going to go that potentially can't find its way into those pipes because they exceed capacity? You want to make sure that it's not blowing out all over the place, causing problems elsewhere, in particular on abutting properties.
Yep.
So I think he's curious as to, what's going to happen in that 100-year event relative to the piping. But we know that the water's going to get to that design point eventually, and it's less going off the site than it is now. And we are improving some of the pipes on site to make sure that they complied with the 10-year storm as Stephen required. So, that's another improvement to the property that's proposed. But he just wants one more level of analysis that, I think he was away on vacation for some time, so that didn't actually find its way to us until we got that report. I think it was yesterday.
okay. So again, you're willing to include as a condition?
Absolutely.
Sort of dealing with any sort of outstanding comments with respect to the water and stormwater?
Absolutely, and frankly, I don't think engineering is going to want to issue a stormwater permit until those things are addressed. So I think we're talking belts and suspenders here.
Understood. Okay. Okay. Jim, I don't think I have any further questions.
Tori?
I do like this. I think it'll be an improvement on this site. My only concern is how are cars going to be directed to, and you spoke a little bit about from, but is there a plan for signage so we don't have cars weaving through the parking lot trying to get to Starbucks, or getting lost on their way out?
We do have directional signs on the site plan that are shown on the plan, but this is a relatively flat site. When you enter either up by Home Goods or you enter down by at the Staples entrance, you're going to be able to see this.
I'm less worried about people knowing where it is than with people having the choice of a whole lot of different ways of getting there, many of which are going through lanes of parked cars with pedestrians going to and from the shopping center.
Yeah, we didn't propose any wayfinding signs outside of this project area, right, Mark? It didn't seem like that was really necessary, and we do believe that a good number of the folks going here will be shoppers anyway at the shopping center. So they might be at, for example, the mailbox place, and then they're going to find their way down in a different way than somebody who is just coming in off of the highway. So we really didn't think there was any need for wayfinding signs throughout the parking field, if that answers your question.
Is there any marquee sign or street sign for that location?
Is there a what?
A marquee sign or a street sign on either side?
A pylon sign. We're proposing building-mounted signs that are shown
Right.
on, we do have some freestanding signage. Yeah.
If you could just use the mic, because this is being zoomed.
This is Jess Carroll.
There is a pylon sign at both entrances. At this point, Starbucks would likely only be on one of them, the one over by Route 1, because of just space on the signage. Like, 'cause we
How big
can't
is that
expand
sign? Is that a smaller sign, like lower standing? Can't remember. I think we're gonna need a depiction of that too, with the set, if you won't mind.
I probably have
If that,
Okay, if you
I
have
mean,
it,
proposed.
we might have one with us. It would just be replacement of a panel,
okay.
because that sign would be grandfathered.
And I just say that I should say that is when a tenant leaves. So at this current moment with Starbucks, we do not have an agreement with them to put them on the pylon sign. It's more
Okay.
of a contingency for the future if we're replacing another tenant who is leaving.
Okay.
Because right now the pylon signs are both full.
I agree with Tori. I think there should be some type of wayfinding, just to direct people. It seems like you want to direct them coming from the home goods, especially if they're going to be, coming off Route 1 to use a drive-through, because otherwise
Yes.
they got to come around.
I'm
And
picturing the drive-through customer who's coming in off Route 1 and has to cross this very large site. And I think you'd rather have them come around this thoroughfare closer to Route 1, where they're not going through the lanes of parked cars, rather than cutting across in front of Home Goods and where people where pedestrians are crossing, trying to figure out how to get to Starbucks.
Well, I think the bylaw allows us to put wayfinding signs up 4 feet high. We are not proposing any, and we do note that none of the other businesses have wayfinding signs throughout the parking lot. However, if the board feels that you'd like us to have a wayfinding sign up toward Home Goods, let's look at the plan. Maybe, Josh, if you can put up the site plan, we can pick out where you would like us to put it.
The difference I see with the other businesses is they're all looking for their customers to park in the parking spots and walk
Right.
to the businesses, where the drive-through calls for the cars to be approaching Starbucks at a certain orientation in order to be in the right lane.
Okay.
Yep.
There's our freestanding sign. Josh, do you have the,
That's the pylon sign.
yeah, that's the freestanding sign on Route 1.
Is there a different sign that we were is this the sign that
What
we were discussing?
No, what I believe Mr. Adler is asking us is to put in a small wayfinding sign somewhere on the site.
Right.
So if we could put up the site plan, the overall site plan.
Something to the effect of Starbucks drive-through with an arrow when you're coming in off the Route 1.
And I'm quite certain
That's a good-
Starbucks wouldn't object to that.
I'm sure they would.
that might be a good spot,
Yeah.
around there,
Yeah.
So that's,
right as you come off the ramp.
If you put up the overall site plan, the colored one, we can see all the islands.
In this one, would it be between the island between the CVS sign and this light pole? That one's where you'd be coming, that's where you would enter the site, correct?
At the light pole right there.
That's like Goodwill right there.
Yeah. Perfect.
I like that.
So where are we, what's the? So, some sort of wayfinding?
Want me to go back to the plan? Would that be-
Actually, just quickly,
Yep.
if we can get the, satellite.
Okay.
You put it right here.
it was way up.
Then
So the island
Should we just describe it as across
Yeah.
from Goodwill or something, or?
Oh, okay.
But here,
Yeah,
I would say right here, because you pull in.
So we'll add that to the.
Yeah, I'm adding several conditions here, actually.
Yeah,
Sure.
You don't want them to drive it.
that's exactly what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
Is
that
that the
makes
other two?
sense.
People cross.
We would we would certainly take a condition that we would put a wayfinding sign on the first island, as you come in off of Conifer Hill Drive.
So, can everyone see my
So maybe we're talking about right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is that the one that makes sense to you?
yeah.
Starbucks drive-thru.
Yep.
Because then you're like, pull in and it's like right.
Or should it be in the one right there?
That,
Or
I
no?
would say is a little confusing.
Okay,
Enter the site,
Yeah.
yep,
because otherwise that's
You
gonna
would
be.
see it-
okay,
Yeah.
yep.
Then you would see it right there at that first island. Yeah.
Okay.
We would absolutely take a condition that we would put a wayfinding sign there.
Yeah, in fact, yeah.
And it would have to say Starbucks, because I think under the bylaw, we're not supposed to have the name. So we maybe can do that.
What's
To
that?
say, it should say Starbucks drive-through. It should have the name.
Okay, so that should be in a condition.
Yep.
Other questions, Tori?
That's all. Thank you.
I just had a couple follow-up questions. You mentioned 55 seats, including the outdoor seating. Do you have a breakdown of the indoor and the outdoor seating?
We do not have a breakdown of the indoor and the outdoor seating. So 55 would be the maximum seating in the good weather, and
Yep.
then it would otherwise be less in the winter.
Okay. Will you have a time requirement on how long people can sit? I'm being facetious. It's Starbucks.
I think we're not even going to
No
go.
comment. On the queuing of the drive-through, did you give any consideration to maybe splitting that to have 2 windows or an order window? I just went through one on Burger King at Endicott Street, which I don't think was in front of this board, but they put another, if you will, screen that you can order from to maybe expedite the vehicles going through and not queuing and causing environmental concerns for pollution and so on. Especially, I mean, if you look at the Dunkin' Donuts around town, which I know is a competitor, but, you know, the one on High Street, you've got probably at least 15 cars on your morning. So if you put in a second lane, maybe put it back a little bit, or a second ordering booth, do you have enough room, and would that be something, or is that something you considered?
We do have basically to add another lane, which these lanes are a little wider than you would normally need. They're 2 12-foot lanes. But putting another lane in there would push everything closer to Staples and Stop and Shop, which would, you know, kind of start impacting the parking more and whatnot. And what we do have is a pre-order board. So, right there. So there's a pre-order board. There's so people can start figuring out what they want. There's the order board, and then there's the actual pickup window. So Starbucks wanted they wanted the lane was designed to give them the queuing that they were actually looking for. So I haven't seen one of their stores that has the double window like the Chick-fil-A's or whatever, you know, with the you know, this is their standard kind of, you know, the way they do things. So anyway, I'm not sure what to say. I think it would be they definitely wanted the pass-through lane, you know, to allow people to get out of line and drive around. You know, that was, so we definitely don't want to occupy both lanes with stopped vehicles. So I think it would be pretty impactful to the site to add that third lane in there. So frankly, we'd prefer not to do that because it's atypical for this use.
I think McDonald's has the two ordering windows. So you pull up to the one, and the guy behind you orders at the same time you're ordering. Would that maybe expedite things, or is that something that could be considered?
What's that? Yeah,
I don't think it's a long enough building to do that. But the other good news is we're working on getting a Tesla charging station on the other side of the parking lot. So hopefully there'll be more electric vehicles going through.
yeah, I think the planning board already approved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Jess mentioned, the Tesla parking that I think the board's already reviewed is just to the, off the page. So I can show you on the overall plan if you wanted to, if you're really interested. But it's actually close by here.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions from the board at this time? This is a public hearing. Any questions from the audience? All right. Staff? If nothing further, then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded by Tori. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. And Lou, you've got a motion for this with a couple of new conditions.
I do, yep. Site plan review, 301 Newbury Street, date of application, July 14th, 2022. Date of hearing, August 30th, 2022. Date of decision, August 30th, 2022. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by Atlas Danvers Realty LLC for property at 301 Newbury Street, Assessors Map 19, Lot 8, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plan. Quote, proposed site improvement project, 301 Newbury Street, Danvers Plaza, Danvers, Mass., unquote, prepared by Civil Works New England, dated July 5th, 2022, revised to August 23rd, 2022, consisting of 21 sheets. The following submission requirements have been waived. 1, Section 4.3.1, title sheet. Section 4.3.1A, existing principal buildings are not shown on the title sheet. Existing principal buildings are shown on the existing conditions plan, sheet 2, and overall site plan, sheet 4. Section 4.3.1D, existing contours at 10-foot intervals are not shown on the title sheet. Existing contours at 2-foot intervals are shown on the existing conditions plan, sheet 2. 2, Section 4.3.2, Site Analysis Plan. No site analysis plan submitted. Existing contours are shown at 2-foot intervals on the existing conditions plan, sheet 2. Existing trees, 4 inches, are shown on the existing conditions plan, sheet 2. Section 4.3.3, Dimensional Regulations Plan. No dimensional regulations plan submitted. Proposed yard setback is shown on the site plan, sheet 6. 4, Section 4.3.4, Site Construction Plan. No site construction plan submitted. The location of the existing and proposed new building are shown on the site plan, sheet 6. Existing and proposed contours are shown on the grading, drainage, and erosion control plan, sheet 7. The proposed location and dimensions of drives, parking areas, and streetlights are shown on the site plan, sheet 6. Proposed drainage system in general is shown on the grading, drainage, and erosion control plan, sheet 7. Proposed landscaping in general is shown on the site plan, sheet 6. A proposed limit of work, LOW line, is shown on the demolition plan, sheet 5. 5, Section 4.3.6, Utilities Plan. Section 4.3.6B, the profile of the new water, sewer, or stormwater pipes are not shown on the plan. 6, Section 4.3.7, Landscape Plan. Section 4.3.7A, existing and proposed grades are not shown on the landscape plan. Section 4.3.7.C, small Roman 2, existing trees 4 inch in the project are to be removed and are not shown on landscape plan. The existing trees, 4 number, are to be removed as shown on the demolition plan, sheet 5. Section 4.3.7I, the yard setbacks from lot lines is shown on the site plan, sheet 6. Section 4.3.7J, a table showing the percentage of existing and proposed impervious surface is not shown on the landscape plan. 7, Section 4.3.8, off-street parking and loading plan. No off-street parking and loading plan submitted. The location and dimensions of maneuvering aisles, location and number of parking spaces, location of the building, proposed landscaping, and parking table with information are shown on the site plan, sheet 6. Construction details and size and type of materials for surface paving and drainage facilities are shown on detail sheets, sheets 10 through 18. The project is also subject to these additional conditions. 1, resolve any outstanding comments from town engineering with respect to water and stormwater. 2, add a crosswalk to the accessible parking aisle. 3, add a wayfinding sign stating directions to Starbucks at First Island as you enter off Conifer Hill Drive. The project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Compliance review of this site plan shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction has not begun by such date. Signed, James Sears, Chair.
The motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tori. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good luck. Right. And the final item tonight, 160 Andover Street. Let's get that. One second here. (160) Andover Street, request for site plan review pursuant to Section 4 of the zoning bylaw submitted by PMG Northeast LLC for property in the Route 114 Corridor Zone A zoning district. The applicant proposes a drive-through at the rear of the building and associated site modifications. Assessors map 55, lot 11. Is anyone here for the applicant?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Our team is remote.
If you could speak up, sir, just a little bit louder. We can't hear you that well.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Our team is remote. My name is Brian Levy. I'm the attorney for the applicant, PMG Northeast LLC. With me tonight from PMG is Armand Curian, and from Collier's Engineering, Jesse Coakley, the project manager, project engineer, and Jeff Fiore, the traffic consultant. The application tonight seeks to do one thing, which is to add a drive-through lane to an existing Dunkin' Donuts that is within a convenience store at a gas station at 160 Andover Street. To do this, the PMG is now requesting that the board grant site plan approval, 2 minor queue-length waivers, and waive certain submission requirements. The site is in the Route 114 Corridor Zone A, a commercial zoning district dominated by commercial uses. There's an existing gas station with a convenience store, which includes the Dunkin' Donuts. The site is about 1.3 acres. It's located on the south side of Andover Street or Route 114, along with several other commercial uses. The site is a corner lot at the intersection of Avalon Bay Drive and Route 114. The site is also not far from the Route 114-95 interchange. The site is relatively flat and square, and Crane Brook is in the rear of the site. There's also 2 driveways onto Route 114, one which is a right turn out only and one which is a right turn in only. And there's also a full access driveway on Avalon Bay Drive. The site has been used as a gas station since 1950, so for over 70 years this has been a gas station. In 2006, the site was raised and rebuilt by Cumberland Farms under ZBA grant variances and Conservation Commission order of conditions. PMG purchased the site in January of 2020 and inherited a situation where, under the 2006 approvals, there had not been an implementation of the landscaping or the planting improvement plans in the rear of the site adjacent to Crane Brook, and there was an open certificate of compliance. We're now seeking to add the single drive-through lane back behind the building, the rear of the building, to serve the Dunkin' Donuts. This drive-through lane is proposed to be 15 feet wide, paved, a single lane, circling around the back of the building, as you can see in this plan. There'll be a drive-through window that'll be added to the southeast side of the building. Also to accommodate the drive-through, 2 parking spaces in the front of the building and a trash enclosure are shifted to the side lot line as approved in the ZBA dimensional variance. So we have been working on this project for about 2 years now, and we've received the following approvals. First, we've had several conversations with MassDOT, which has advised that it would have no objection to the drive-through so long as it's approved locally, and that if we made certain minor improvements, which are included in the site plans which we have provided to you. The ZBA granted a use variance for the drive-through. It also granted dimensional variances. The dimensional variance was the side yard that I mentioned before for the trash enclosure. And the parking variance was really offered simply to maintain the existing parking of 12 spaces. We did not reduce the number of parking spaces at the site. Also, the Conservation Commission granted several approvals for the project because of the presence of Crane Lake behind the building in the resource area called the riverfront. And that new order of conditions includes a whole new stormwater management system and an entirely new planting plan with a very robust operation and maintenance agreement. These approvals, plus more recently working with the town departments and staff, result in the site plans which you have that include the new drive-through lane, which is in compliance with your site plan criteria, except for the waivers, reducing the vehicular stacking from the order box to the pickup window by 2 spaces, and reducing the minimum total stacking capacity by 1 space from the required 13 down to 12 spaces. This cooperation, working with staff and departments, resulted in the town engineer's comment memo dated August 23, whose only substantive comments were, quote, "This work will involve improvements to the site's drainage system. The engineering division has no further comments." If I may, I'm going to turn it over to Jesse Coakley to walk briefly through the site plan. And then if you have questions on traffic, there's a traffic report, there's a whole queue report. If you have questions on these things, Jeff Fiore will be here to answer them. But if you do not have questions for him, I'll just circle back and go over the relief requested in detail. Jesse?
Thank you, Brian. Can everyone hear me okay?
If you could be a little bit louder.
Okay, I will speak up. I'm just going to share my screen. The first image I'm just showing you is the existing conditions aerial from Google Earth. You can see the existing gas canopy kind of on the top part of the screen here. Route 114 is at the top of the page. Avalon Bay Drive is on the left-hand side of the page here. And the existing convenience store that has the Dunkin' Donuts component is kind of smack in the middle of your screen. You can see the 12 parking spaces in the front that Brian mentioned. The existing trash enclosure is just to the right, back portion of the building. And then there is a grass area behind the building which wraps around towards the driveway on Avalon Bay Drive. And then there's a wooded area that goes back to Crane Brook, which is at the bottom of the screen. So, as mentioned, the plan which Josh was sharing before, I'm sharing my screen now. The applicant is proposing to put in a single lane drive-through, which wraps around the back of the building. And a drive-through window will be added to the existing convenience store with the Dunkin', and there will be some internal floor plan modifications required for that as well. But the building footprint is unchanged, and the elevations, aside from the window being added, are also unchanged. The drive-through lane, was kept almost exclusively within that grass area because of the width, which was discussed at length with the Conservation Commission. It does encroach into some of the wooded area, and as Brian mentioned, there's a robust stormwater system that is proposed as part of this improvement. as well as landscaping provided in that area as well, and additional landscaping that will be proposed in the island along the northwest corner of the property in the island, at the corner of the intersection of 114 and Avalon Bay Drive. From the window back to the limit of the drive-through lane, 8 cars are depicted here for stacking or queuing of 8. And then we provide queuing for an additional 4 vehicles along that island. It will be signed with additional drive-through, stacking signage. There'll be a stop bar painted so that the access to the driveway on Avalon Bay Drive can remain. For the exit of the drive-through, as Brian mentioned, we are shifting the trash enclosure over and those couple of spaces to allow for that to function properly. And as Brian mentioned, we have also been in conversation with MassDOT about the driveways. I'm going to switch back to the existing conditions plan because the original permit, I think, was intended this to be an entrance only and an exit only. And you can see the striping kind of shows 2 arrows in and then 2 arrows that are somewhat hooking to the right a little bit, but that could be misleading potentially, and Mass DOT and thought that, potentially showing 2 arrows there might cause some confusion with motorists. And they would prefer, and our traffic study was done modeling these as a right in at this driveway at the northwest corner and a right out only at the northeast corner. So those driveways are being further embellished with removing the double arrows and just putting a single arrow that is more at an angle, and then installing proposed no left turn signs at the exit, and then installing proposed do not enter signs at the entrance with 1 arrow in, and then we will be extending some striping here, dual purpose. 1, to emphasize the right in only nature of this driveway, and also to delineate the additional queuing in that location. So that is the site plan, the layout plan in a nutshell, what we're proposing. As Brian mentioned, we have the comments from the Stephen King regarding the stormwater. A stormwater permit will be required for this project as part of the proposed improvements and the proposed stormwater system that we do have, but a stormwater report outlining compliance with DEP regulations was also submitted.
So, Mr. Chairman, that's our presentation. Mr. Fiore is available if there are specific questions on traffic or the queue, but we'll stop there.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board? Lou?
Yeah, just in terms of, I know that there was a, just so I have it clear here, in terms of the waivers you're requesting in terms of for queuing, it seems like in some areas you are, in one area from the order box, you're greater than what is required, but then in others you're less. Is that right?
That's correct. So the only waivers that we're seeking are a 2-space waiver from the order box to the pickup window, and a 1-space waiver for the overall total minimum stacking.
Okay. Okay. Was that different in some earlier materials? It seemed like there was a greater waiver that may have been in the initial materials?
That's correct. And as I discussed, we work with staff and departments to create this revised plan, which you have in front of you tonight.
Got it. Okay. And in terms of the, and I know in terms of the sort of the part of the studies involved, I believe, looking at comparable drive-throughs. I think we had ones that were, what other locations did you look at? I think I saw that there was one that was on Andover Street, also on Newbury Street, and then Lowell Street.
Yes, there were actually a total of 4 that were studied. We looked at 99 High Street,
Right.
in sort of a supplemental study in response to a request from staff. And then there were 3 other sites studied. And I'm not seeing Jeff or Jesse, do you have those handy?
Yeah, the one on Newbury Street was the one that was the most comparable to our site. I believe it was 420 Newbury.
Yeah, 420 Newbury Street.
Yeah, and that one is similar. It's the gas station convenience store with the Dunkin', and the Dunkin' inside is about the same size.
Okay.
And the maximum queue that we observed at that site was 9 vehicles, and that was at one instance in the I think 1 or 2 hours, that peak hour that we were studying, taking the counts. So, you know, we have the 8 here that will be sufficient for 90% of the time, but in the event that it does exceed that 8, you know, into that 9th car, we do have an additional 4 spaces available here, and that was something we worked on, as Brian said, with staff and MassDOT as well.
Got it. Okay. And in terms of, I think from the report as well that in your opinion, 99 High Street was not comparable.
That's
Correct. That one was a standalone Dunkin', and the configuration on that site, they don't have as much queue length available even for, I believe, like the 8 spaces. You know, the cars, I think, there bleed out onto High Street, or,
yes.
You know, cause some issues, whereas that's very different here.
And also the Dunkin' is twice the size of the proposed Dunkin' here.
Okay. And so there's no, and I think as you indicated, there's no change to the size of the operation on the interior at all, correct?
So the building square footage overall is staying the same, but because of the addition of the window and kind of where it's located compared to where the Dunkin' is inside the building today, the Dunkin' is getting slightly bigger from what it is today, but I think today it's only about 300 or 400 square feet of the total square footage, and it's going up to about 1,000 square feet, which is roughly, if you can see on the plan here, I will just do a quick little, it's about like this area, no seats inside, just a counter, and then a drive-through window.
Got it. Okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you.
Jean?
I don't have any questions.
Tori?
No questions.
I just had a few questions on the operation of the drive-through. I see where you have the proposed order board. It seems awful close to the actual window. You only have 2 cars from when you order to where you pick up. It would seem to me, at least in my experience, there's more than a car or 2 in front of you before you pick up. Is that something that you determined in your research or actual experience that that's a good thing, or would you entertain a question about possibly moving back at least 1 more car to give the employees time to take your order, I guess, and put your order together?
So in this particular instance, we're a little bit hamstrung by the existing conditions. As part of the 2006 redevelopment for this property, there were dry wells installed in the back here for the proposed building roof runoff. And so moving the order board further back would compromise those underground structures. And then there's also existing, I think, gas and electric runs in the back here. So we're a little bit pigeonholed in where it could go. So that's why we need that waiver for that one space.
But you
We
feel
could maybe
you feel comfortable operationally that with 14 people in the queue and backed up and waiting to get their orders, you're gonna be able to take the order and process the order with the time it takes 2 cars to pass? It just seems awful quick to me. I don't know what the timing is on the average order to picking up the product, but I mean, these are electronics. A lot of stuff is done, you know, wireless, and I don't know.
We do, and one of the things we actually did work with staff on too was sign one of the spaces here for temporary drive-through pickup. So if you do pull forward and it is not ready, we have a space delineated here for that person to pull in, and you know, the worker can run their order out if they have a longer order.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about that. And then on the 2 spaces that you moved over to the right of the plan are going to have trash enclosures, and you're putting employees parking in front of the trash enclosures.
Yes.
So they would
Correct,
just
and that-
move their car when the trash truck comes?
Yes. Yes.
So
Exactly.
they would
And
jump
it
out
would
of,
be
jump out of the hectic line and go move their cars. It doesn't seem to, unless you restrict the trash to come at, 6 in the morning or something, or 4 in the morning.
That is exactly what we typically do, is look to schedule the trash pickups during off-peak hours so as not to encumber the employees, or the operations of the site in general. The less we can have. Same thing with fuel deliveries. Keep the site clear during those peak times.
What are the round objects at the top of the plan abutting Andover Street? Are those
would be,
bushes?
yeah, those are the existing shrubs, actually. You can see them pretty clear in the aerial as well. I mean, I know this is from
Okay.
not the most current, but those were surveyed shrubs that are out there.
Can you talk about the landscaping for a minute and just give us a little bit of the detail on that?
Sure. So this was worked out with the Conservation Commission and town staff during that process. You can see I kind of switched over here, and the landscaping is emphasized here. We have native and naturalized species that were selected. We went with some ornamental trees around the back, and then some story, some lower shrubs in that area. A mix of the species, which is outlined on the plant schedule, and then also town staff asked what we could do in this area, that existing island, and so we also are proposing some red maple there and a few other trees to kind of fill in the gaps. Again, I'll switch back to the existing. You can kind of see there's landscape beds there, so that will kind of be filled in with additional landscaping. And as part of the order of conditions from the Conservation Commission, that operation and maintenance plan does require, the cleaning up of the area behind the building. There are some invasive plant species that have to be removed, trimmed back. There's some asphalt piles that I think were there from, the prior owner and the 2006 site redevelopment. So that's going to be removed. So it will be cleaned up considerably, and then, kind of replanted in this manner shown here with, as Brian said, a strong operation and maintenance plan that is also part of the order of conditions with the Conservation Commission.
Are we doing away with mulch using stone?
We aren't actually showing any mulch on the plan. We do have a kind of a seed mix going down here that's appropriate for this type of area. So that's kind of where
Yeah,
that's
we don't
being
want
left.
mulch because of the chance of fires with people throwing their cigarette butts out the window while they're waiting for the coffee.
Yeah, no mulch proposed there.
Are these all drought-resistant plants?
They are, but we are, close to the wetland area, so they're more selected for that type of environment.
Will you have irrigation or no?
I would have to check back on the order of conditions. I think that there was going to be some required for the plantings in this area, but I don't believe they were for this area. But that is also covered in some of the maintenance and guarantee period for the plants as well.
And can you just show the snow storage areas again?
Sure. So you can see we have a little bit of a separation here between our drive aisle and where the landscaping actually is. So we have that area outlined for snow storage, plus kind of an area notched out behind the trash enclosure as well. And then I think you can see over here we do have some landscaping proposed, but there is still some areas in there where the snow could be stockpiled as well on site.
Yeah, we don't want to dump it into the landscaping, though, if we can prevent that. Would you have a condition that if the snow exceeds a certain height, that you would truck it off? Just,
I think we may have had that in the order of conditions from the Conservation Commission. So we'd be okay with that.
does staff have anything on that?
Gonna look at our general conditions. I thought it, yeah.
I think there was a general, I think we made that a general condition of approval. I think it's
6 feet? Did you hear that? Any pile over 6 feet has to be trucked off.
Okay.
Other questions from the board?
Yes, I have a question.
Lou?
Yeah, just a question, just with respect to the general conditions. Just a clarification, is it 6 feet or is it 12 feet?
12 feet. My apologies, it's 12 feet. That was adopted by the board, I think, in
So that's already in a general condition.
12 feet.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Any questions from the audience? Now's your chance. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved?
Do I have a second? Yes?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we close, I just wanted to note that there are the 12 submission waiver requests. I'm sorry, there are 13 submission requirements from which we're seeking a waiver. Presumably, those are in the staff report somewhere. I just want to make sure you have those.
Yes, those will be read as part of the decision.
I have 8, but
I think a lot of
Thank you.
a lot of them are going to be a formality. I think the major ones we've already discussed.
Yep, thank you very much.
Okay, so at this point, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Did I already do that?
so moved.
Second by Tori, moved by Lou. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. And now we have a motion. Lou?
Yes. Site plan review, 160 Andover Street, date of application, June 16, 2022. Date of hearings, July 26, 2022, no public testimony. August 30th, 2022. Date of decision, August 30th, 2022. The Danvers Planning Board finds the site plan submitted by PMG Northeast LLC for property at 160 Andover Street, Assessors Map 55, Lot 11, to be in substantial compliance with the criteria and regulations adopted by the town. Details of the plan review can be found on the following plan. Quote, site plans for PMG Northeast LLC, proposed gas station drive-through, map 55, lot 11, town of Danvers, Essex County, Massachusetts, end quote. prepared by Colliers Engineering and Design, Inc., dated June 15th, 2022, revised to August 18th, 2022, consisting of 10 sheets. The following submission requirements have been waived. 1. Section 4.3.1, title sheet. Section 4.3.1D, existing contours at 10-foot intervals are not shown on the title sheet. Existing contours are shown at 1-foot intervals on the demolition plan, sheet 2. Section 4.3.1G, recorded easements abutting the tract are not shown on the title sheet. Recorded easements abutting the tract are shown on the demolition plan, sheet 2, and layout plan, sheet 3. 2. Section 4.3.2, site analysis plan. No site analysis plan submitted. Existing contours are shown at 1-foot intervals on the demolition plan, sheet 2. Steep slopes are shown on demolition plan, sheet 2. Existing trees are shown on demolition plan, sheet 2. Areas in the tract subject to easements are shown on demolition plan, sheet 2, and layout plan, sheet 3. Wetland boundaries and buffers are shown on demolition plan, sheet 2, and layout plan, sheet 3. 3. Section 4.3.3, dimensional regulations plan. No dimensional regulations plan submitted. Existing easements and yard setbacks are shown on layout plan, sheet 3. The maximum height of buildings and zoning dimensional table are shown on layout plan, sheet 3. 4. Section 4.3.4, site construction plan. No site construction plan submitted. The location of the existing building and parking areas, wetland buffers, dimensions of curb cuts and driveways are shown on layout plan, sheet 3. 5. Section 4.3.6, utilities plan. Section 4.3.6B, the profile of the new stormwater pipes are not shown on the plan. All the existing utilities that serve the building will remain unchanged. 6. Section 4.3.7, landscape plan. Section 4.3.7 B and C. Existing trees and landscaping are shown on layout plan, sheet 3. Section 4.3.7I, the yard setbacks from lot lines is shown on the layout plan, sheet 3. Section 4.3.7J, a table showing the percentage of existing and proposed impervious surface is shown on the layout plan, sheet 3. 7. Section 4.3.8, off-street parking and loading plan. No off-street parking and loading plan submitted. Dimensions of curb cuts and driveway, location and number of parking spaces, location of building, existing landscaping, and parking table with information are shown on layout plan, sheet 3. 8. Section 4.4.1, table of development data. A table of development data showing area in vegetated wetland is not shown. The percentage of building coverage, percentage of impervious surface, and number of off-street parking spaces is shown on the layout plan, sheet 3. The following requirements from the zoning bylaw have been waived. 1. Section 10.3A, vehicle stacking requirements, paren, restaurant drive-through, end paren. The project requires a minimum of 9 spaces from the order box, a minimum of 4 spaces between order box to pickup window, and a minimum 13 spaces total queuing capacity. The project is proposing 10 spaces from the order box, 2 spaces between order box to pickup window, and 12 spaces total queuing capacity. This project is shown on the attached, this project is subject to the attached list of general conditions. Compliance review of this site plan shall lapse within 3 years from the grant thereof if construction is not begun by such date. Signed, James Sears, Chair.
The motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tory. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Staff, are there any minutes for the board?
No, but I just wanted to address that. We've been working on the backlog, and we'll have those, we're plugging away at those, so there'll be a
All right.
massive slug coming.
All right. If there's nothing further, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you.